Good morning. I have a question for you. Have you ever been given a presentation or presenting information and all of a sudden things didn't go too well? Things started to kind of shift into a negative environment. Uh, Maybe you were kind of getting attacked a little bit. That's one of the things I actually wanted to talk to you about this morning was negativity and some of the ways to kind of take that negativity and like judo turn it around and make it work a little bit in your favor, at least get to the bottom of what's going on so you can come up with some pretty good solutions. So here's a picture of Monty Python's Life of Brian, and this is the stoning scene where the gentleman said Jehovah, and that's blasphemy. So everyone's all lined up. Even women, apparently, who can't do it are there. They're excited to get on with this and stone this individual. And there's actually parts of your brain light up when they do brain scans. The pleasure centers of your brain actually light up when you think somebody is guilty, and you actually see them get punished. And there's also there's parts of your brain that light up if you have empathy with that person, if you think they're actually unjustly being punished. So sometimes when you're kind of getting some of the negativity, or it's may either be misdirected, or you didn't build up a rapport or relationship with them enough, and you just represent something pretty negative coming in as like a change agent, and nobody likes that. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on there. So first, this is Mark Twain, and Mark Twain had some really interesting views on mob mentality, groups getting together and kind of acting a little crazy towards an individual or something, kind of getting riled up, getting caught up in the moment. And you'll notice this. You have probably seen it when you're in a group and one person starts out with something negative and it just seems to build momentum and build steam, and you're like, slow down, people, please, what's going on here? And you're kind of moving very far away from a solution, and you're just moving into attack mode. You're thinking historically and not into the future. So Mark Twain said, people can get together, and sometimes they get together and do really smart things, but most of the time they get together and do really dumb things. And I think that's exactly what we get when we see it going down that wrong path. So what do you do? That's one of the hard things, and that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit and kind of share with you is kind of what that experience is like from my point of view, and kind of how I deal with it, and how I try to get through it and change the energy or shift the energy. The first thing is you got to be cool. When we look at what's going on here, you have your outer level of your brain, which is where thought is, and that's your cortex. And if we go a level down, and this is from one of my other videos, you'll notice we get into the limbic part of your brain, and that's where emotions are. And people have gone from this reasoning part into this emotional one, and we kind of have to try and bring them back out. And one of the best ways we do that is to just stay calm. The closer you get to your limbic system, and the closer you get to your cortex or your core or whatever, the more problems you're going to have in your reptilian brain. So we want to move them back. We want to move them back into the calm and rational. So don't bite on it. Don't fall for it. Try not to get red-faced. Just go along and try and steer it in a positive direction. And one of the easiest ways to do that is humility. Make fun of yourself. I really mean that. Get them laughing at you. Have humility about the situation. Like, oh gosh, wow, you guys really want a piece of me. And kind of joke around about it. But really, what you're going to be doing is you're getting something that you're agreeing on. And you'll start to build and strive towards a relationship. There will start to be empathy for who you are as a person. So be human, humility. The second thing is you haven't really built rapport with these folks. They're not all that happy to see you, probably. Another thing too is, you got to look at where you're at. What environment are you in? How did they get here? Did someone tell them they have to go here? Is it intrinsic? Is it extrinsic? Are they getting ordered to come down here? And then who are you with? Are you with a bunch of construction workers? Are you with a bunch of doctors? Doctors are a really good example. For example, if we look at a doctor, they're trained to diagnose what's wrong. So when you're presenting or giving them information, they're looking for data, they're looking for maybe a problem, an issue, and they can identify that, and that's what they do is they go out and solve it. So maybe they're looking at what's wrong with you. Maybe they're looking at what's wrong with this presentation you're giving and trying to find something. anything so they can move forward and make a recommendation. So we got to build rapport with folks. So you do that with humility. You do that with really good nonverbal gestures. Don't stand there and frown and be mean and all that good stuff. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in body language, but smile. It's like, that's one of the easiest things you can do, and I'm surprised that more people don't do it. And we don't do it at our front desk. We don't do it when we're greeting people. Smile. Slow down. Sometimes you move too fast and you talk too fast, and I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm trying to get out a lot of information real quick in 10 minutes, but slow down when you're talking to a group of people, especially when they're getting emotional. Don't raise your voice. Ego suppression. This is nothing about you. It's not about how much you know. It's not about regurgitating all your information. It's about listening. Validate others. You have to basically hear them, listen to them, and say, I understand, I empathize with that. Give. If there's something that you can give, if it's right there on the spot, a solution, like, oh, let me fix that for you. Oh, I know. Oh, why didn't you say so? I heard. Let me help you with that. Also give of yourself, give of time, give a treat, give a water, give anything, but give. Ask how, ask why. These are open-ended questions, and they get people conversing. And when you're conversing, you're building rapport, you're building a relationship. Don't ask yes and no questions. And lower expectations. Let people know that you're not there to change the whole entire world. You're there just to try and do one little baby step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We're only going to be here for 20 minutes. Set that expectation up front. I know you don't want to hear me, but I've been brought in. But bottom line is all this is moot point if you don't care. If you just actually care about human beings and the human experience, and you care about the people in the room, all this stuff will naturally happen. You'll naturally build that rapport. So care, and you'll find out where that goes. So here's a great. These are actually people I know. They can actually watch these videos, and they probably watch these videos. But God bless. This is a great example of body language. I was in a room. I was asked to present some information, and the body language I got was exactly this. Every single person, nobody was making eye contact with me. Even when I was smiling and trying to get it going, we had a lot of crossed arms. We had a lot of crossed legs. Every single person has a crossed leg in this picture. Every single person has a crossed arm in this picture, and there's no eye contact. If I stood like that in front of the room, they would probably skin me alive. Turns out, later on that I found out, is that they actually were pulled out to go to this meeting, told to go to this meeting. It was the only time that they had in the day, but they had a whole bunch of patients that were sitting, waiting in rooms. This is like mind-blowing to me. No, there was nothing I was going to say to change this negativity. So understand that. There might be something deeper. Quickly dig. If I was better at what I did, I would have got down to the bottom of that and addressed it quickly. Also, here's another one, framing. We have to make sure that we're framing correctly. Framing kind of sets the tone for this and can kind of shape it a little bit. When you're framing with folks or groups or people, organizations, make sure that you're using these frames right here. I think this is from Daniel Pink's book, To Sell is Human. A good book, by the way. So use the experience frame. Focus on experience rather than what it does, what the outcome is. This will be a better experience for your staff. This will be a better feeling. This will be really nice experience when an organization gets functioning in this way or this manner or the workflow or whatever. Label. Be sure to use labels. If you talk to a group of kindergartners, say you guys are you guys are excellent cleaner-uppers, they become better cleaner-uppers. If you say you guys are slobs, they become slobs. We want to label people correctly. If you're with a room full of doctors, say this is a smart room of individuals. We have a lot of experience gathered here. We can do this. We can outthink this problem and overcome it. Blemish. Make sure you point out a blemish. It's human nature. Again, this is humility. Say, hey, of course we're going to argue, and we might have a couple of bumps along the way, but this is doable. And then paint the potential. This is where we're going to be. This is what we can be. Good speakers can actually talk and use these kind of frames all the time, and it keeps it kind of in a parameter, if you will. Finally, I want to talk about mindsets. Change your brain, change your life. You might have read this book or heard about it, but I think a lot of this stuff is really about changing mindsets. And there's a lot of good literature out there, a lot of books on this subject, but let's just dig into a little bit of how this is a tool for you guys when you're kind of experiencing that. You can try some of these tools real quick. So on a scale from 1 to 10, if I find out that someone, or I see that somebody's getting really negative towards another person or another entity, I like to ask them on a scale from 1 to 10, we'll use the health director right now. So let's say they're mad at IT. We'll use IT. Let's say they're mad at IT because that's always really easy to be mad at because the computers are not human and they're not working sometimes. They're attacking the IT director. And you say, okay, from a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being great, what would you rate? How would you rate that person at their job? And they'll most likely do like a 3 or a 4, maybe a 2. But I don't think anyone will go to a 1. That's pretty almost hateful, if you will. So here's what you do. When they say a 3, say, wow, I would imagine that you would give that person a 1. Why didn't you give them a 1? Now they'll shift their mindset to actually defending the person that they were just attacking. And we kind of want to do that to people. It's kind of like pointing out the bright side. What good things do they do? And that's exactly what will happen is they'll start to say things like, well, they are a bit busy. They do have a big workload. Maybe they're understaffed. They aren't getting the funding that they actually need. And now it becomes a system problem and not a person problem. And we really want to get back to the system way of thinking. Another thing I like to point out, and this is when we have existing resources and we aren't going to get any, shiny knight coming running in or no influx of cash or staff or whatever. You got to make do with what you got. And that's you got some lemons and you're going to make some lemonade, right? So one of the questions I like to ask to kind of start this shift in thinking is ask somebody in the room to pick out something, to come up with something that is really bad. And to think of something that's horrible, like the worst thing you could think of, like everybody in the United States loses their job at this next year, or everybody will have cancer by the age of 40. And another example would be it's going to rain. It's raining out right now. It's going to rain imagine if it rained for 365 days of the year. Tell me something good about that. And what you'll see is people's mind will shift and they'll come up around the room with positives. And those positives are, hey, the sale of rubber boots will go up and umbrellas, or the rivers will be better, so I'll get to go kayaking. If we all lose our jobs, I can just go do my startup. I always wanted to do my startup. Or maybe the government will actually realize that they need to address some of the political problems that our country is having, et cetera, et cetera. We're not in denial no more. Same thing with cancer. Imagine if every human being just naturally, biologically would get cancer by the age of 40. Maybe research would finally get the funding it actually needs. Maybe when we're younger, we spend more time with the ones we love instead of running around and chasing after our careers or something like that. This will come up in the room, and you'll hear the folks saying this. And what you're really doing is shifting the mindset. And really what it comes down to, this is a picture of my son, and he is listening to something I was playing, like a Radiohead song or something, and he was just totally 100% engaged. Look how happy he is. It's the same thing with your children. If you really care about the situation, you really care about your kids, obviously, you have unconditional love, you are going to sometimes wake up cranky. Things are going to get negative every once in a while. Maybe they're not fed or they're upset with the situation. But what's going to get you through it is actually just that, caring and listening, keeping your cool. And at the end of the day, you have to find out what they're really saying. What is driving them to that negativity or to that emotional place, because that's the driver, that's the root cause. And if you could figure that out, you could actually figure out the solution and get things moving so you can remove that altogether. All right, I hope that was useful, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to you soon. Bye.